Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For the sake of the Zoom participants, just like to introduce ourselves. My name is Peter Fisher. I will be chairing the meeting. Do come in, Dom. Nikki?
Good morning, and I'm Nikki Davison. I'm the Licensing Enforcement Officer for North Norfolk District Council.
Lauren Gregory, Democratic Services.
Emily Capps, the Assistant Director for Environmental and Leisure Services.
Thank you very much. Remember to have all your phones switched off. If we can use the microphones, please. Any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chairman. We've received a few apologies for absence. Apologies have been received from Councillor Tim Adams, Councillor Kevin Bayes, Councillor Harry Brathwaite, Councillor Andrew Brown, Councillor Gary Bull, Councillor Nigel Halston, Councillor Pauline Porter, Councillor Eric Vardy, and Councillor Liz Withington.
And I guess there's no substitutes.
This committee doesn't have substitutes.
Right. Minutes. Have you all read the minutes? There's one change that we need to do after we've accepted them en bloc, if we could please. And that's to the 6th of June 23, where there was a gender change in the minutes, just a mistake. So can we accept them en bloc, please? Jolly good. Items of urgent business.
None received.
Declarations of interest? No? Excellent. Then we'll go on to the main part of the business, which is the Hackney Carriage fare review, which Nikki is going to walk us through, I hope.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so the report we have for the Licensing Committee Regulatory today is to review a proposal for a Hackney Carriage fare increase. So the council has a responsibility under the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1976 under section 65 for the setting of maximum fares that can be charged by a Hackney carriage vehicle in our district. It only applies to Hackney carriage vehicles, and it does not apply to those private hire vehicles. In January 23, February 23, we did receive some requests from our trade requesting for a fare increase. So following that request, we did send out a consultation to the trade to test whether there was an appetite over the trade, whether the fares, they wanted the fares to be increased. So the current fares that we have in operation go back to August 2018. So in March 23, I circulated that consultation to the trade for their views, and we did receive 22% response, the majority in favour for the fare increase to go ahead. I also did consult with the chairman of the North Norfolk Taxi and Private Hire Association as well. So the Hackney Carriage taxi fares, they're made up of an initial hiring charge and a mileage rate. So these are expressed in both terms of distance and time, so per unit cost. This is because when hiring a taxi, when it's stationary or moving slowly in a traffic, the meter continues to charge by time instead of the distance there. So just an explanation where you look at the proposed fares in sort of tariff 1, 2, 3, and 4, you have the flag off. So that's a fixed cost that can be charged for an initial distance. So it offers the taxi driver a minimum return for every journey, encouraging the supply of those short journeys there. So you'll be able to see the current fares, which are in Appendix B on page 25 of the report, and they are maximum. There is opportunities for downward negotiation between the customer and the driver or the operator. From the responses from the trade that were seeking, yes, they did want the fares to be increased. You can see a summary of those responses in Appendix C, pages 27 to 30 of the report there. So following that consultation, we were looking at the consumer price index to see what the increase has been since August 2018 to September 23, and that was showing a 26% increase. So from that data, we then looked at doing a draft of the Hackney Carriage Fares with that increase in mind, and you can see that draft Hackney Carriage proposal on page 31 with that 26% increase. So coming to that draft, I then had a meeting with the chairman of the North Norfolk Taxi and Private Hire Association to go through those fares. And during that discussion, we felt that possibly that leap of 26% increase could have a detrimental effect on the trade, you know, putting off customers using it. It was just at the time too high a leap. So therefore, we then discussed and looked at the current proposal of the 15% increase, which was also sort of in line of the responses of the amount that the trade were proposing it to be. So with the second draft version, with the 15% increase, you can see a copy of the fares in Appendix E, page 35 of the report. So just to explain your tariffs there. So tariff 2 night rate, that has historically been based on time and a half. Tariff 3, which is a Sunday rate, is historically been based on time and a quarter. So the time is the day rate, tariff 1, your standard fare. And tariff 2, so your Christmas period, has been historically based on double time. I have also been in contact with a taxi meter agent who does the majority of our meters within our district, so the programming and calibrating of those meters, and he has confirmed that the proposed 15%, he can work with those on the meters there. So for some data behind this as well, and where we sit nationally. So the Private Hiring Taxi Monthly, which is the trade publication, provides, actually we have live data on the website, and it's of the league of table of all Hackney Carriage fares. So currently for a 2-mile journey, we would sit, well, at the time of writing the report in December, we sat 318th out of 340 licensed authorities. So you can see that that table of fares on page 37 to 38 of the report. And also looking at our local neighbouring authorities where we sit, you can see on page 20 of the report, there's a chart there where we sit right at the bottom there. And so using those 15% that we're looking to propose to increase the fares, we would then sit locally within our neighbouring authorities, just under East Cambs there. So if the increase is agreed, for the proposed Hackney Carriage fares, we have a statutory duty to place an advertisement in a local paper. That's in accordance with the regulations, and that's a 14-day consultation period, in which time any objections can be made on the proposed fares. We would also at that time send that consultation out to all the trade, so all our Hackney Carriage and private hire drivers, and all the operators there. If we receive no objections to the table of fares following that 14-day consultation, then the fares can come into play from the specified date in that advert. If we do receive objections, then we can consider all those objections, and then certainly within 2 months, we need to decide whether we modify those proposals or stick with what was initially proposed there. So following the consultation and the representations from the trade, we're looking for that 15% increase for the fares, Hackney Carriage fares. So there's 3 options. So the committee can support that 15% increase for the Hackney Carriage maximum fares within the North Norfolk district, or the committee could not accept that not support that increase, or the committee could agree for the proposed Hackney carriage fares to be increased, but at a different percentage. So members, again, are just asked to support and consider that this 15% Hackney carriage fare increase today. Thank you, Chair. That's the end of my report.
Thank you very much, Nikki. That's obviously a full and very complete bit of work, and obviously took a lot of sorting out, a lot of different people. Have you got any questions, members? Yes. No.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I know page 20 and paragraph 219, and you did mention it in your thing, was that it would be published in one local newspaper. Which one is that?
So I would propose that actually we put it in two. We would put it in the North Norfolk News and the Dereham and Fakenham Times to cover the breadth of the district, rather than the Eastern Daily Press.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Could that be brought out, because it actually just says one in the report, and it's really quite important, because quite often stuff is only published in one of them, and it effectively disenfranchises people in the west part from Holt downwards, who the local papers sell. It used to be the Fakenham Wells, it's now the Fakenham Dereham, but quite often stuff only goes in the North Norfolk. Could we explicitly state that it'll be the two local newspapers that cover the district, please?
The reason why it only states one is because under the regulations, we only have a statutory duty to advertise just in one local newspaper. But certainly we can have the minutes can state to be in two. That's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Tom. Yes, Gerard Mancini Ball.
Nikki, just how do you propose for our local residents to find out about this? I mean, I know you're doing it in the paper, but not all my residents read the paper. I take it's going to be on the website, but are you, for instance, going to contact parish councils and all this type of stuff, or do you not think that's worthwhile?
So certainly the publication will be placed on the council's website. And what we can also organise and arrange is for the council's media team to put something out on their social media as well to reach further and wide. To be honest, I haven't thought about sending it to the parish councils, but we could certainly pop something for all the parish councils.
To be perfectly honest, sorry, Chair, to be perfectly honest, if you just let us know via email, because majority of us do attend on parish council, we just have that onto agenda with any other business, so we could do it that way rather than you trying to contact them all.
Certainly, yeah, what we will do is we can put a circular through all the local members to then disseminate all that information to their local wards. Yeah, certainly.
Thank you very much. Anybody else got any questions? Oh,
Hi,
Councillor Birch.
Councillor Birch, hi. Yeah, just to make a general comment, really. I've noticed I use taxis quite a lot, and a lot of my neighbours who are quite senior use them a lot. And I think it's very important to have this increase, because certainly in North Walsham, the availability of taxis has massively reduced in the last few years. And it's better if you're very rural and isolated, it's better to pay a little bit more, but have availability rather than not having a taxi available. And I know now on a Sunday evening, you virtually can't get a taxi in North Walsham, and other nights as well, you ring people up. So I think it's very, very important to support our taxi companies.
Thank you very much, Councillor Birch. A couple of questions I've thought of. It's 2018 when we last looked at this, and everything is much more volatile than it was. We've had a period where interest rates were very flat, and now they're up and down. Should we be looking at this in maybe every 2 years, 3 years? I know it's a lot of work, but and then we wouldn't be looking at a massive increase. And we're looking at 15% now, but the questionnaires that we put out were indicating a lot more than that. So it's not going to be very long, I suggest, before they'll be looking for an increase again, quite rightly so, perhaps.
Just to come in there, if you don't mind. I think we did go out to the trade. The trade came to us in 2022, but when we went out to them, there wasn't the appetite then. to look at the fare increase.
Right.
So it's only this year that they came to us again, and when we went back out, there was the appetite. So it's interesting how you talk about the volatility, how much that's changed in the appetite for fare increases had changed within the last year. But it's certainly something that needs to be regularly reviewed. I would agree, you know, otherwise you have a big jump, don't you, when it actually does happen. So yeah.
Right, jolly good. And the other thing, did you say there was only a 20% return? Does that reflect on the numbers of companies that some of these drivers belong to, or were you disappointed with the return?
I would have liked more, to be honest. So it gave a greater representation of the trade. However, it was a higher percentage of response compared to when we went out early 2022. It's very difficult, isn't it? So we would have had so drivers from the bigger operators, where they've obviously having that discussion, especially with some of the towns who are seeking that fare increase. So you know, I think the 22% was enough for us to accept, you know, to move forward to have this proposal for the increase.
Right, are there any further questions? Oh, yes. Thanks.
Yeah, just to support the point about availability, there's not much point in the cheapest cab fares in the country if there aren't actually any cabs. It's a bit of a negative victory. So I think that's a good point, and I'd support that point. I was just interested on sort of page 35. How many horse-drawn Landaus and second-class hackney carriages do we actually have in this?
So currently we have none, but historically we have had the horse and cart. So we had a operator based in Cromer, and we had an operator based in Wells. And at that time when they came in, that's why we included that within the fare charges. So, you know, at any time we could have those applications. And the second class is your pedicabs, your rickshaws. So we have had them historically licensed in Sheringham. So it's having it there because we could receive applications any time.
Yes, Councillor.
Just on the chair's point, I agree that 2018 to now is quite a large gap, and you know, as I agree with the chair's point. Is this something that we as a panel would decide on, or is it something that you would go and ask the taxi companies themselves how and when they would like a review, or is it something that we would agree on?
So it is normally where the council has received request from the trade is when we will then go forward and then contact all the trade to see again if there's the appetite, and that's how we would respond. So it's normally the request from the trade when they come in.
Right, are there any more questions? If not, I think we can go to a vote. Do you want to just go through the recommendations again, Nikki?
Thank you, Chair. So the recommendation today is to seek support for a 15% increase in the Hackney Carriage maximum fares for North Norfolk District Council.
Just if I may, Chairman, just
Yes,
to
please.
confirm, having discussed the matter with the Democratic Services Manager, there's just a slight change in the procedure for the wording of the recommendation. So the recommendation would be to recommend to Cabinet as the executive for an increase from the licensing committee of the current Hackney carriage fare by 15%, subject to successful consultation, would be the wording for the recommendation. So as a matter of procedure, this recommendation will be going to Cabinet at their next meeting in February.
Right, are you all happy what we're going to be voting on? So all those in favour, please. Well, that's everybody. So that's a majority. Thank you very much indeed. Well, we've come to the end. Just to say thank you very much for attending. I know you've come a long way for a very short meeting, but it's something we needed to get sorted. So thank you very much indeed. The meeting ends at 10:26.